Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toku Portal podcast for Kamen Rider Zero-One. I am Vashi V, and joining me today is...
Pixie Cat.
And Rai. Welcome to Kamen Rider Zero-One episode 17, uh, where Aruto and Izu open up by saying Happy New Year's, and my brain thought that they were going to say Happy Birthday. I'm not sure why. I think it's just something about Aruto being a CEO. I'm not sure what that would have to do with it, but I just can't help thinking that might be the reason.
Probably that and the fact that 90% of his time on screen is making a joke. Well, 90% on screen when he's not kicking someone's ass.
So, Zaya Enterprise is going to try and buy out Hidden Intelligence. And they've put out a new product, the Zaya Spec, a pair of glasses with a computer attached to them that look, it's kind of like a Bluetooth hooks around your ear. And sales have gone up 724%. And Naruto, the smug little fuck, so not 1,000%.
Aruto starts
great.
Aruto starts his year off with a pun and a burn. So I do want to point something out. Zaya's idea for their way to outclass, these fairly sentient robots is with goddamn fucking what is it, those Apple glasses?
Yeah.
It's that's all they are, is fucking smart glasses. Technology that literally exists right this moment. Not to the specifications that are in the show, but yeah. So I guess that he bought Google at some point too. Google and Apple, because they both have created those.
Also, if we can backtrack just real quick, right when the episode is starting off, they're in the Aruto's office and the other AI is there, and she proceeds to explain what Zaya is and what he's doing. And as she's explaining this, I thought this was hilarious. There's a chibi version of her on the screen doing poses.
Which, one, I thought that was like just a kind of a good thing, like kind of show her growth from beyond just being, I'm the angry AI that sits with this asshole, to, no, I'm cute too, see?
Maybe.
Also, I did enjoy Izu pulling the backdrop and dropping confetti on Aruto during his fucking New Year's joke.
Right?
Yeah, those are just a couple cute little things they started off with right then and there.
Before the episode
But I
turns
just thought
to
that was
shit.
hilarious that while she's talking and describing what Zaya is and who this dude is, there's a little chibi version of her in 2D just doing different little poses.
Yeah, it's pretty cute. So, Zaya specs can increase human brain function, as Guy puts it, 1,000%, to compete with that of an AI. Which, I've always wanted like a little computer that could hook up my glasses just so I could access the internet. But this is way better.
Like, this is taking that AR thing way further than like where it stands now.
Right.
Because I mean that, for lack of a better term, that's really all they are. It's fucking AR. just at super speed.
So, Guy wants to prove that Zaya specs are superior to Human Gear with a contest, a 5 challenge contest, winner take all. If Zaya wins, they proceed to buy out Hida Intelligence. If Hiden wins, Guy will sell all of his Hiden stock back to Aruto.
So like on this, I do kind of want to point out that as at this point, this is just uh Zaya being a piece of shit
Yes,
because he already bought out the company. He just hasn't taken control of it because he's already
I
bought all the fucking stock.
I don't think he has. I think it's implied that he hasn't bought enough yet. Uh, in stock market, like there's regulations and limits to keep you from going too far, and I think like he has to space out how much he's allowed to buy before he can actually buy that 51% that he needs. So I think like basically the point of the challenge is like, yeah, if you win, I'll stop, but if I win, I keep going.
Which most likely is the case. But I don't know. It just seems within his character to have already bought it and go, yeah, this is just a thing to do anyways. I'm just gonna do this to be an asshole.
The way all the characters are talking, though, implies that he has not bond them out yet. He is trying to.
Yeah, that's the impression I got from all the conversations in this episode is that he's very close to doing it, but he hasn't completely bought them out yet, but there's nothing they can really do to stop him from buying more of their stock.
Aside from those pesky laws that don't really apply here, apparently.
Unless, like, there aren't that kind of regulations and he's just pacing himself to screw with them.
Which is, very much something he would do.
I don't know how the stock market works that well, so I can't say for sure, but I assumed that like he's just not allowed to just straight up buy the entire company out right at once.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. I don't know either, but that seems to be what they're going with for this uh, series.
So, the the first challenge is decided. The vice president is informed that it is a Ikebana contest. Flower arrangement. And he and his assistant think that it's a joke and just start losing it. That or they are forcing themselves to laugh because otherwise they will just collapse in on themselves at the situation.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a shock, psycho laughter.
Like, for me, like this is a weird thing for like one of the big like differences between like the U.S. and Japan. Like flower arrangement is very much a major thing here in the U.S. I mean, there's an entire industry about it, but it's nowhere near it's not held in near enough regard as it is in Japan. Like flower arranging in Japan is a very very big deal because with stuff like this, it's like Japan's very big with aesthetics and you know the meaning behind things, how they look, their appearance, their shape, their size. Like it's very much an in-depth thing where it's just here these look pretty together. I mean, because for the most
Well,
part, that's a lot of what flower arrangement here is. It's a very small thing compared to this big grand affair in Japan.
yeah, and when it comes to flower arrangements, when you're talking about Western cultures and America specifically, it's more about capitalism and how much money you can make. So not a whole lot of thought goes into it. While there is a lot of talent and planning that does, it's not to the level where Asian cultures are. With Asian culture flower arranging, It's much more in depth. Every flower has a meaning, every color has a meaning. Each arrangement gives off it's supposed to give off a design, an inspiration, a feeling, and a characteristic. When you look at a Asian flower arrangement, you're supposed to be able to see a story from the way it's arranged or an idea, which is what we see in this episode where they give the theme is New Year's sunrise, I think it was.
Yeah, yeah, it's New Year's sunrise.
So therefore, when the judges see these arrangements, they're supposed to immediately get the impression and the feeling of the New Year's sunrise.
Yeah, but we'll get to that later. Because first we have to talk about when they go to select the human gear that's going to represent them. A florist. She knows all about growing flowers and raising them, but she doesn't know much about. Well, no, she knows about growing flowers and caring for them, but she doesn't know much about ranging them. Uh, and Izu says it's fine and makes a pun about it. And Aruto is just now realizing that he is creating a monster.
And it's beautiful.
And not only that, but it's the complete reverse roles of Izu and Naruto. He tries to stop her, and she tries to make the pun again because the AI did not get it.
Like seeing Izu, because with this type of things, like we've seen Izu progress from just being, yeah, okay, here's what the pun was, good job, thank you, to actually making puns herself. I think the only thing that would have made it better is at the end of it, instead of going gotta have Aruto, she would have said gotta have Izu.
She's
Oh,
I
not
think
yeah.
that would have
quite
been
there
That's
yet.
better.
yeah, yeah. I think that will be the here's her singularity.
Uh-huh. And then they're interrupted by a Magyar attacking, which Aruto destroys, but takes note that it wasn't where didn't have a Zetsumurai's key inserted in it. We'll get to more on that mystery later. Uh, Zaya's representative is the head of a florist company or something like that, who now has the new Zaya spec to create even more like perfect and elaborate arrangements. And I gotta admit, the one that he's working on during that conversation, I think that looks pretty neat. In fact, I like it much better than his submission for the actual contest.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, like 100%. And this is where, like, well, I'll get further into the discussion with it later. Is like where, like, what he was working on to begin with shows more humanity rather than just, hey, look at this thing I made. Like, it's a lot less grandiose and over the top.
I also think that he's like a top competitor because they showed all of his awards and they were kind of talking like he's the best in this field. So he's probably like won a bunch of competitions and they were trying to play that, he's like the champion of this.
And the Humagear, because she has no experience with flower arrangement, gets hooked up to Satellite Zaya to be taught everything about flower arrangement in like 3 minutes.
I'm honestly amazed it only took that long.
Yeah, we don't actually know how long it took, but like Garuto was shocked at how fast it was, so I'm guessing it was only a few minutes.
And as per Isu, it's AI.
Exactly, which is why this isn't cheating, because human gear being programmed to perform a job. This is training.
I just love that one little bit where he's like, that fast? And he's like, yeah, duh, we're robots.
You've done this
We cannot
before,
live what we
actually,
need.
Aruto. Multiple times.
That was that's what I didn't understand is like he's literally he learned how to use his goddamn super suit.
Twice.
And like literally, it's like it was you have split seconds to learn this because you will die if you fuck it up. That was his first introduction into this type of learning. Why is he shocked?
And the last one was only a month ago. Oh, sorry. So, the first contest, flower arranging. The theme, New Year's sunrise. Uh, actually, before we talk about that, let's talk about Fuwa's interrogation of Hirobi, slash the arc talking through Hirobi. Pixie, your thoughts on that scene?
Um, Still comes off to me like it's not authorized because they are still in a creepy rundown warehouse somewhere, and he's in a straitjacket still. And Fu is still just like throwing his gun around, trying to intimidate him into getting answers. I thought the scene was interesting that it's still showing Fua as Fua, but just kind of like it didn't really give a whole lot that we didn't already know. I mean, to me, that scene was just filler to explain how Fua is going to come on to this info that we already got from the head of Zaya.
Like for me, like beyond the let's get information on what's going on now and all of that, I'm confused at why Fua is acting like he wants to kill Hirobi, considering the fact that they literally explained in the last episode that he didn't care about that anymore. He's just like, because he was very vocal about the fact that it's just scrap metal to him.
But then Hirobi reactivated.
It's just one of those weird things, like where which I get that, like, but it kind of contradicts everything that he just said in the last episode.
Well, he was considering like, because like he was looking at Hirobi's body, and he's like, "This is just scrap metal," and he was wondering like, was all my anger really like what was all my anger directed at? Is what he was thinking because he doesn't see any living being in front of him. He just sees a pile of scrap metal. So he's wondering, was my anger really being directed at anyone in particular, or was it really just a machine? And then Hirobi reactivates, and it's like, all right, now I have someone to talk to. Hey, you, fuck you.
Yeah, I can buy that. Though, like, I did see, before I actually watched the episodes, like, I scrolled through, like, Tumblr and stuff like that for, like, scenes and, thoughts and theories and all that. One that popped up was a scene where Hirobi where Fu was like, okay, so who else is working with you? But it's said in a way to where it could be inferred by her if this was literally just sentient Hirobi rather than Arc Hirobi, that he picked up on the fact that that meant Jin is dead / deactivated, because apparently it's a robot, so death isn't the end of it. Which I liked the thought of that, given how we saw the end of Hirobi. the other thing that it pointed out to me was the theory that technically Hirobi hadn't reached sentience yet, or prior to that. So everything that Hirobi, quote unquote, knows and feels is all programming. He didn't hate humanity. He was programmed to hate humanity because one of the things that they point out with the whole singularity is I forget exactly which character they pointed out with is that um, one of the human gears didn't know what love was. I think it was Izu. Um, so because she didn't know what love was, it was a sign that she hadn't reached singularity. So the other side should be true. If you don't know what hate is, like truly know what hate is, then you haven't reached sentience. So it's like Hirobi didn't hate humanity; he was just programmed to, which opens a door to a whole can of worms that could lead to Hirobi becoming a good writer, Jin becoming a good writer, so on and so forth. Because even Jin was pointed out that he was just it's because he was programmed to. He has no knowledge beyond that humanity is evil because that's all the information he was ever given.
Which is why Aruto forgives him, kind of.
Right. It's like, but like I said, like it opens the door for for honest and true redemption in a way that we truly haven't seen in Rider before. Typically, we just get the, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." You know that's usually the path of redemption that we get for the asshole riders. It's like whereas with Jin and Hirobi, because of that, it makes it a little more natural for it to be forgiving because literally they don't know any better.
Hirobi is not going to be redeemed, though, because he is right under the Ark's thumb. Whereas if Jin were to return, we've seen that a positive influence of human culture can actually influence him.
Right. It's like out of the at this point, out of the four riders we've had that are evil, I'm including Captain New Year's. Only two. I feel only two of them are truly on that path for redemption, and that's only because of the way things played out. Would be Assassin Chan, because mainly because they've destroyed all the bad ones. Jin, who's more of a natural thing because he's already been forgiven by Aruto, and then you have Hirobi, who's it's still possible but unlikely, and then you have the oh hell no, that motherfucker better not be redeemed, because I swear if it ends up with Captain Shitdick being turning good, I'm gonna be pissed.
Hey, Zero.
Hello.
You're a little quiet.
Yeah. Sorry, I just moved my mic, so it's probably. Let me just
I cannot hear Zero at all.
I can.
yeah, let me boost it. How about now?
Hi.
Sorry.
There we go. Welcome, Zero.
Yeah, my bad. Uh,
Headphone users warning.
sorry. Yeah. Freaking Discord volume levels are hard to adjust. Sorry, yeah, I just moved my mic, so it's a little weird. Anyway,
Alright.
yeah.
So, Zero. How do you feel about the Zaya spec?
What's that? The
The glasses.
yeah. Um, very oh, okay. It depends. They're cool. Like it makes sense why like how do you compete with like the AI tech? It's like, well, you just put it into the humans. I'm like, well, it kind of makes sense because like we are kind of like there are people trying to work on stuff like that because like let's be honest, that'd be really useful because like imagine if you didn't have to fucking learn a language, you could be like, boom, just install the language pack, right? And there you go. Or shit like your memory's going or whatever. And then you could just have something that's like easier to recall. So it's like it's really useful. Um, in this setting though, one, it's like it's very much like Doctor Who, well, like alternate Earth Doctor Who, where like the Cybermen were created using
Yeah,
that.
because if you want Cybermen, this is how you get Cybermen.
Well, one version of it, like the new Who version. But as for like in this universe, like yeah, this is like clearly like the most villainous fucking thing, especially because like they tell you a little more about like Zaya and stuff, and how it has like branches all over the world, and this is like the Japanese branch, and like they show the map and everything. I'm like, my God, this is like clearly 100% Shocker, right? Like
Yeah.
there is no doubt. Um, at which point, like this thing is just gonna be used to like mind control people, which I'm like, that kind of sucks. But like as the tech alone, it's kind of cool. But in the show, it's clearly gonna be evil, which
You know,
sucks.
if Aruto breaks his leg and goes to fight Mexican Zaya, I'm gonna be pissed.
Well, no. So what would happen is Fua would
I
have to
know.
show up and face
Yeah, Fua
Mexico.
would have. Well, because didn't
Yeah,
Mexican
like
Shocker show up
Ichigo.
because that was the explanation for where
No,
Ichigo
so the
went.
explanation was Ichigo rescued Nigo, um, and then Ichigo defeated Japanese Shocker, so he went off to fight Shocker abroad. And then when he comes back, he's like, "Oh yeah, I went to go face off against like European Shocker." Um, but like in the meantime, like Japanese Shocker is pretty much gone, so they like call in like support from like Mexican Shocker, and then like nobody's there, so like Nigo has to fight them, and basically that's the reason. Well, that's the in-show reason. The
Right,
out-show
right. Well,
reason
that's why I brought the whole broken leg thing into it.
right. It's like for those of you who don't know, like original um writer and like original tokusatsu, especially like if you watch original writer, like they had no idea what the fuck they were doing, kind of. So it's like, yeah, like actors used to do their own stunts, like all of their own stunts, pretty much. And so like Ichigo, like Hongo's actor was in a crash, like in a stunt accident, and he either hurt his back or his legs, and he was hospitalized for a bit while he recovered. And then so they had to like, well, we still got to do the show. And so they're like, well, I mean, like Shocker makes more robots anyway, so we can just say this is just a rescued one, right? Um, and then this kind of also feeds into like, well, the original reason Ryder wasn't popular is like, well, it's like an action show, but it's like it's got like nothing cool kind of going for it, right? Um, but then like Nigo showed up and he has like the belt thing, and then he's got like a henshin pose, and that kind of became popular. And the whole reason like he had to do the henshin pose is because he didn't have a bike license, or he didn't have it fully completed yet, so he couldn't ride his bike. But like original rider, when you transform, you would have to ride your motorcycle to generate to power the belt, right? The belt's wind powered.
Yeah, you
So
need
like
enough
Nigo,
air pressure running through it.
yeah. And so the thing is like, well, Nigo's actor doesn't have his bike license. so so how are we gonna deal with this shit, right? So they're like, well, this is the upgraded version. He doesn't need it. He can just do the pose, and it generates like the momentum of it pushes enough air around that
Also,
he can
that saves
fucking
you the trouble of risking another actor breaking his leg on set.
yeah. And this is pretty much why like they don't really let main actors do too much. I mean, like in Gaim and stuff, a lot of them were allowed to do a lot of their stunts and stuff, and like certain directors kind of give you a little more leeway. But like, yeah, this is pretty much the reason why like whenever you see a rider on a motorcycle, it's like they get on the bike and they have a clear helmet so you can see them. And then the helmet changes to complete black, and that's the stunt guy. And then before it stops, it changes into clear, and so you can see, oh, he's getting off his bike. So clearly he rode here, even though he didn't. I'm like, just make the damn helmet black for both versions. Like
Like
you would have a lot less of this.
the funny thing with that is like is because that's what stopped the character the main character is actually riding the bike. The actors riding the bikes.
Also,
And
the
then
henshin pose, Kamen Rider became a lot popular after it was introduced.
right. But what I found funny with it is because I'd kind of like I was reading like all like the press releases and stuff for I want to say it was Build that he specifically went out and got his motorcycle license because he wanted to ride the bike and they said no.
Oh, that sucks. But I mean, that would explain why like Bill's more on his bike because like the actor actually knows what the hell he's doing. But yeah, that sucks that he couldn't do it. Shit, man. Like, did Shinosuke? Well, I guess he was driving that fucking like R35 at the end, so like I guess he actually drove his car. But yeah, it's pretty damn rare for like actual actors to do it. Um, Especially, I mean, like they were really figuring everything out. Like there was no choreography like we know today. So like fights and stuff were real jank back in the day. Um, and
We
then
want
like
them for the jank, though.
yeah. Well, to be fair, like the storylines are actually pretty interesting in those early episodes because it's closer to like a more like detective-y type show. Um, or early on anyway, instead of being like the standard writer of monster.
Uh, Getting back to Zero-One, though. Zero. Uh, Izo makes a pun on her own, and Arto thinks he's creating a monster. What do you think about that? Zero? Can you guys hear me?
I can, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Zero's mic messed up.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Zero.
Oh, sorry. My internet connection went down for a second. It's
Okay.
back. Anyway,
Uh,
tangent on original writer over.
yeah.
Yeah, anything
So,
else?
um, Izu makes a pun on her own, and Arto thinks he's created a monster. What do you think?
Oh my god, that was so good. No, I love how like Arto's like, oh no, I'm corrupting her even more. I'm like, oh my god, even you acknowledge how shit your jokes are. That's so good. That was such a good moment, honestly.
Alright. Now let's get to the flower arranging competition. So, we know what the judges in the show vote for, but let's talk about this ourselves because I want to talk about this. So the theme is New Year's Sunrise, and first off we have the Humagears presentation, which you've got the bright like vibrant colors here. You've got the yellow with the pink to look like the sun rising up over a snowy hill in the horizon. Like it looks like a sunrise, and I find it really appealing. And the judges make that comment of like, "Oh, this one flower throws it all off," and I actually can see what they mean because it's hanging too low. It's hanging underneath what is supposed to be like the horizon line, so it is out of place. I don't think it ruins the whole thing though.
I mean, to be fair, like they're gonna be stuck up judges. Like this is a very like traditional art form, so like one hair out of place, like definitely is like, what are you doing? Are you an amateur? Um, as for like the thing, yeah, I do agree that it does feel like what you just said. Um, the other thing too you have to keep in mind is like every flower has like a different meaning. there is an art for this. Like the Japanese have a word for this, and then there's like a European version. But the thing is, like they have like this flower means this thing. There's like a whole freaking art form for this. But they don't correlate. Like the Japanese meanings and the like European ones are different. So the thing is, like, yeah, visually this looks like, like the sun coming up and all that. Um, I don't know if the judges are like, well, technically this flower doesn't embody this theme or whatever is happening. And two, while looking at her piece, it's nice, but it's too spring-like, you know, where it looks like, oh, these are new flowers coming out, and like you're seeing the warmth of spring, but the theme is New Year's, right?
Well, I'm
And
not seeing warmth though, because it's like I'm seeing the colors and choices here, and I'm seeing like the white on top of the green, like a light layer of snow.
yeah, yeah, it could go with that, but I think, like, okay, here, do you have the second picture?
Well, Pixie, Vashi, what do you guys think about this one?
Um, I think they both had good and bad things about them. I definitely think the human cure should have won because hers was more vibrant. You got a sense of hope and light and the actual sunrise with the way the flowers were all swirled and coming up. Yeah, that one flower was off and kind of threw off the motion that was she had with all the other flowers. But to me, hers was better than what he made. His was pretty dark and it had those two random bamboos thrown in front of it that just made no sense to me. His, I felt, could have used more color. It was awful dark and just kind of gave me the impression of like death, like the end of the year, not a sunrise.
Right. My thing with that is like I feel like his has like way more impact dramatically. Like hers looks nicer, but like his has more of an impact. As for like the
Yeah,
bamboo thing, I don't know. Maybe it's
Well,
supposed to be like more of a
so
traditional thing. Yeah.
so here's what I see when I look at the florist, right? I see the two different types of trees in the sky, and I see the ray of light shining down between them. And so I think like the bamboo poles are supposed to kind of like be the trunks of the trees holding them up. Uh, so like I definitely see what he's going for, and in a way I do see the beauty in it, but then there are certain details about it that throw it off for me. Like you've got the one vine that extends out a bit too far, and like the way the bamboo poles are arranged doesn't quite do it for me. Like ultimately, I do like what he did, but for me, he did too much, and I think if he dialed it back just a bit, I would actually say that it's much better than the Human Gears.
yeah, it would be if it did not have the bamboo poles in front and that big black viney thing. I think it would have looked a lot better without those two pieces.
Right, because like they both symbolize exactly what they should, and in a contrast between something that understands like not so much for lack of a better term the simplicity of it, which would be the human gear is like hers is very simple, whereas the human who did it who has an ego at stake is very pretentious. Like I feel that is the major thing is why I don't like it is like it is beautiful but it, the human gears is more simplistic, and to me that's better than the gosh fucking gigantor thing that he made.
Yeah, so this is one of those things where I feel like it's more like good clothing versus like a fashion show. Like that's what's happening here. And the thing is like, yeah, fashion shows have like weird ass outfits, right? But the thing is they're not supposed to be worn. It's an art piece on the theme. right? Whereas that's what's happening here, where it's like hers is like it's gorgeous, right? And his is an execution on the theme. And so maybe
I
the bamboo poles are supposed to be like, oh, there was construction, but there's new life here now,
That seems like a stretch, but I wouldn't put it past that kind of symbolism.
right? So
Also, this part of the episode just kind of lost it for me because the way they went into it just seemed like an anime way too much. You have the three overly enthusiastic judges and setting stereotypes. You have the one that's overly flamboyant, the one that's a stickler. This part of the episode just kind of lost it for me. I wasn't as interested in it because it seemed too much like an anime.
yeah, so
So
very Kabuto then.
yeah, so based on that, Pixie, I need to show you an episode of Kabuto, which is literally an episode of Food Wars.
Yeah, it's the Iron Chef episode.
Yeah, you need it.
So,
I love food words.
I want to do something special here. Hey, Steph,
Well,
could you
well,
come here a moment?
I'll let this one play out real quick, and then I'll say my piece.
So, in this episode, there was a flower arranging contest, and the theme was New Year's sunrise. So, if you go ahead and put this on, and just what do you think of this one?
Well, I personally think it does look a lot like a sunrise. It is pretty, and some of the flowers in it do look like they could be fireworks. So, I like that one. That one's also nice. Um, it also has a bunch of starburst-like flowers that could look like fireworks, but I feel like the other one shows like a sunrise better. But that's my opinion.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you to the special guest we apparently had that we were that.
No, that was
was awesome.
that was a spontaneous decision. She felt really awkward about that.
Well, she did a good job.
Yes, lovely. She was exactly on point.
And the
Yeah,
sad thing is, like, I could tell exactly which order she looked at him in.
yeah, that's true. Also, I do love how like everybody comes in and it's like, oh, what's the first picture? And we all see different shit, but we're all like, oh, this is nice.
Right? It's like, and the sad thing is, like, everybody who's seen, because everybody's seen like slightly different things with it. It's like, and everybody's right. Like, because that's the key thing with flower arrangement is it's not so much just how the arranger sees it; it's how everybody else perceives it, and that's what makes a good flower arrangement, especially in Japan, is it's not just, oh yes, this is supposed to invoke this specific thing. It's everybody can see their own thing on this theme. Because we all, with both of these, like we've all had some form of a sunrise with it, a New Year's sunrise, and what the idea that a New Year's sunrise represents, physically looks like, and so on and so forth. And that's what makes a beautiful art piece within flower arrangements in Japan. The issue why the human gear lost, we know exactly why it was. And no, it's not because Zaya paid off the judges, which again would make sense. But this wasn't so much a contest of just which is better. This was also a contest of perfection. And
Right. So
unfortunately, that's why she lost.
right, exactly. She's basically losing on her technicality.
Right.
So yeah, the vote is in, and Zaya wins round one, prompting the human gear to get upset. As learning about flower arrangement has kind of opened her eyes and made her want to study what makes something beautiful even more. and she studied that flower arrangement is kind of is kind of like a reflection of the heart, and she thinks that her opponent's heart is very ugly. This prompts him to assault her, and then the arc infects her remotely somehow, and she turns into a Magir without a Zetsumurai's key.
Dun dun dun. And I have a theory on that.
Go ahead.
So obviously we know that Zaya's behind everything, and why it's not clear to Aruto's beyond me. But so the Zaya specs hold the virus.
Oh, that's interesting.
So
See,
when he shoved her, it instantly triggered the virus.
oh,
Like
okay. That's
so
cool.
it's because it's stupid AI Wi-Fi bullshit. So yeah,
Okay, so you have that. What I was thinking is like Zaya planted a backdoor from Hidan's
right,
onto Hidan's
because
satellite that connects to
because we were talking about that with the whole spy thing.
right. And I don't think it has anything to do with the glasses.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if the glasses were a kind of transmitter. Uh,
Right. The
but
the one the one issue with that is that before the flower arrangement, you had like another one infected, but like the glasses just came out. So how did that happen?
no, the glasses have been out. Sales have
Oh,
just been boosted recently with Hidden Intelligence's bad publicity. People have been looking for alternative methods of AI.
oh, okay. Okay, yeah, then it gets
This
simpler.
is entirely going off of guy making one comment on how his sales boosted by 700%.
Oh man. And then like fucking Arto calls him out on it. It's like,
Yeah, it's
don't you
like,
mean it?
but not 1,000%.
Ah, so good. That was such a great moment.
Huh. But I'm wondering.
Also, also, is this like the first time like the other AI secretary actually has something to do or assistant, right?
Kind of.
Yeah, because I'm like, when was the last time she said like anything? Like, holy shit. Um. Anyway, continue.
Uh, but I'm wondering if it wasn't that when he shoved her, he made contact with her. I think it was more so that when he shoved her, he abused her, showing the evil side of humanity and making her question, are humans evil? And that's when the arc strikes. Like, yeah, there, right there, that thought. Hold on to that thought, make it your only thought.
Which would be valid considering
Um,
how we know, like, because the way we were seeing everything with like Hirobi and Jin picking their targets for the Magir was exactly that. Is they well, initially it was just they reached a certain point of sentences, like, and then it was let's harbor what should be your negative thoughts,
and
like
the fact
with
she says the same thing that Hirobi said, Jen said, all of the arc, they all talk about the maliciousness of humanity.
which she was kind of spouting off before she went, evil psychopath.
Yeah. I do think that the glasses do have something to do with it, though. Because he just seemed a little too happy that he had all this set up to that point. And him and this florist were talking in private before the whole competition started, and he gave him the glasses then. So it seems to me like the glasses may like Wi-Fi transmit it, and all they got to do is just provoke a human gear, and it causes them to get infected. It makes it easier for them to be infected wirelessly because they're at that point. Oh my God, I'm upset. I'm hurt. You know, there are to that point where they're like, humans are terrible, and it's like, all right, backdoor, slip in, easy hack.
And if you need any more evidence that guy is evil, when the fight breaks out, he busts out his Thousand Driver, which uses both a Progrise key and a Zetsumarais key. And when he does Henshin, rather than go for the rogue Huma gear, he starts beating the shit out of Aruto.
Which again is why I'm confused as to why Aruto hasn't figured out he's the bad guy. Because I mean, Aruto's very much aware he's the asshole, but he's not. It hasn't clicked that he's behind all this. It's very fucking obvious. Also, of course, Kamen Rider Thousand Island gets 2 keys.
Perfect
And
Rise.
that is all I am ever calling Thouser is Kamen Rider Thousand Island.
Yeah. And Aruto has his Authorize, you've got Shot Rise, Force Rise. Yeah, what does fucking guy have? Perfect Rise. When the 5
Presented
horns
by Zaya.
cross, the Golden Soldier Thouser is born. Presented by Zaya.
Oh, dude, the fucking presented by Zaya shit is just the best. I love it.
Like this smug motherfucker.
Right? I mean, he's so confident that everything's gonna go according to plan. He's advertising it. Oh my god. Also, the only
copywriting
thing
finishing moves and
yeah, right. The finishing moves and everything is oh my god. Just go into fucking Tiger and Bunny live action. Just start sticking decals from companies on you. At this
Thousand
point.
Destruction. Copyright Zaya Enterprise.
No, I'm brought to you. Sorry. Go ahead, Pixie. Did you want to say?
And the fact that all of his attacks are in English and copyrighted. So he's plugging his own stuff, showing that, oh, look, I'm American. I've got American contact. My stuff's better.
Actually, so there's actually a logistic and logical reason for it being in English. As English is the more universal language. And I say universal is worldwide language, but so this is a company that's all around the world. If you're showing off tech, well, yes, this tech is only in Japan. In theory, this tech is supposed to, be let's advertise for my company. If you're promoting worldwide, you're probably going to do it in English.
And Japan loves English anyways. So chances are the average Japanese person knows a little, can recognize English when they see it.
Yeah, and then also, when he did this, I don't know if you all caught it, not only did he use 2 keys, he used the Progrise keys and the Zetsu.
Yeah, I mentioned that as hey,
he used the good and the bad keys.
How can you not know this guy is evil?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the only thing I could think about after that fight is one, you didn't even pretend to go after the Humagear, and 2, Yellow Buster is an asshole. What the hell was up with that? And I'm oh wait, no, different rider form. But honestly, when you transform, dude, why are you just fucking Gold Buster? Sorry, not Yellow Buster, Gold Buster. From Gold Busters, right?
Right.
Right. This suit is pretty much just an evil version of that. I'm what is this?
It's because Beatles.
Right. Yeah. Also, the 5-star shit. I'm guessing that's gonna come back into something.
Yeah. How about this? When his weapon is a lance that called the Thousand Jacker, and then he hooks it up to Aruto's belt to steal his power from it.
Oh, dude, yeah.
And he's jacking off Aruto.
Yeah, somebody didn't think that through.
Or somebody thought it through.
Yeah.
I firmly believe somebody just did that intentionally.
Oh, dude. Honestly, when that first happened, holy shit, that thing is fucking dangerous. And then Artigo's strongest form, oh no, you moron! You literally just gave him yes, this is my strongest form. I'm he literally just has to land 1 hit on you. and now your strongest form is useless. I mean, thankfully that didn't happen, even though he got his ass kicked. But I'm like, Arto's got nothing now.
Well,
Like,
actually,
he can't.
actually, he's got Shining Assault.
Yeah, but
with
that's
his Gundam
literally just the
defense.
same thing, right? It's
No,
just
no, it's stronger than Shining Hopper.
no. I mean, it's doing the same thing that Thouser is doing. It's like it's getting powered from both AIs.
Well,
Yes, yeah, on
in
that one,
theory,
yes.
though, like since Shining Hopper can't quite stand up to Thouser, like it'll fall short. Shining Assault should at least be on par.
Maybe. I mean, but wasn't that damn form built by
Yes, it was built by the Arc, but
right?
Aruto and Fuo were both still able to use it.
The one with repercussions and one with no repercussions. Because it was pointed out like that Fua using it was actually hurting Fua to use it.
But Izu suspects that Satellite Zaya may have done something to allow Aruto to use it.
Like, I will admit, as much as I hate fucking Thousand Island and his OP bullshit, like I said, it's like this is that perfect thing of we're going to nerf the god power up and do it the right way. Like, and this isn't the, stupid XA Chronos bullshit of I'm just going to cheat my way to victory, though he cheats his way to victory, but it's more of a, hey, here's an established line of where the top is, and the next rider is literally just above that, which is a very effective way to nerf a power up,
and is much better than what Bill did.
Right.
Pixie, how do you feel about Aruto being one-upped by Thouser?
I just finished watching X8, so to me, this is the last arc of X8 again.
No.
We have Crazy Pants over cheating and jumping ahead, and then we have our hero slowly gaining some traction.
Before you start getting all down on that, Rye, because, I mean, yes, that gives us all bad memories with it. This is only episode 17.
Yeah.
This is not the end game, so it'll be a lot tighter of a fit.
But it's still the same writer.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like, this isn't the end game, because X8 really didn't start falling off until like the last 10 episodes.
Right.
When it just started recycling everything we've already seen before.
How many times can you defeat the main villain before you defeat the main villain?
We all knew this was coming, though, because as soon as we found out what the fuck Zaya was, we knew this was going to happen. But at the same time, it's just kind of like, he trumps everything Aruto has. Aruto lost.
Oh yeah, Aruto lost this fight. And I'm wondering if the 5th challenge will be the rematch.
Like, just all-out fight between Zaya and...
See, I don't know.
No, just Thouser versus Zero-One.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it makes sense.
But the way this competition is set up, it looks to be careers. It's different jobs.
Which at the end would be CEO versus CEO.
Okay. The contest is who makes the better technology. And
it just happens to be focused around career.
Their main business for Hiden is the Humagear, who are made to perform jobs, and for Zaya are the Zaya specs, which increase a human's brain capabilities to allow them to do what they do better. So let's clash those ideals. A machine versus an artificially enhanced human.
Which sad thing is this gets down to the standard, man versus machine.
Right. So this time we got an art contest flower arranging. We'll probably get a cooking contest. We'll probably get a contest of skill. And I'm betting that the final challenge will just straight up be Thouser versus Zero-One.
Like, and they can do it easily too, because this is a 5-round contest. All you have to do is have each side win 2,
Right.
and then you have the tiebreaker.
Bring back the sushi chef from early on in the series. Have him win the cooking challenge.
Honestly, do you want to know the sad thing is I want one thing to happen with the sushi chef if they do go that route.
Yeah.
Without it being explained that he's a past rider or anything else like that, bring back Tendo. Just have him be the random human chef.
No.
Well, that would be awesome.
And like let him do his little like Tendo shit, but have the character not be Tendo.
Right.
Like
Have
the same way that the same way Beatbuster did the whole Magic Ranger symbol.
Right. Have Tendo's character just do the finger thing once as a slight nod.
Yeah. And then just act arrogant the entire fucking time. Like, I think that would be great. Either that or what was her name? His sister.
Oh yeah, her.
Not his little sister, but you know, the one he spends half the time that this
His
is my sister,
real
but nobody knows
sister.
it. Yeah. The one he's constantly harassing for mackerel.
But yeah, I'm expecting a food contest. I'm expecting some kind of contest of skill, like I don't know, not archery, but you know, some kind of thing like that. Uh, and I don't know about the fourth one, but I'm expecting the fifth one to just be the rematch of Thouser versus Zero-One.
Like, I mean, it makes logical sense. It's like, and that'll give, like, because through all this, you know, there's obviously going to be the Thouser versus Zero-One at every one of these, because gotta push on the fact that Thousand Islands is stronger than Zero-One, which will give that. It will also push time for that to be reinforced, and then have them in the background doing the how do we fix this. Because let's be fair, if this ends with Zaya getting a hold of Hiden, holy shit, way to go, Ryder. Because that would kind of be unprecedented for the bad guys to take control of the good guys' headquarters. But it's unlikely. Because, you know, good guys got a good guy.
Right. Naruto needs
like-
his equipment to be Zero-One.
That kind of happened in Drive. They just had a backup area.
Right. It's like it wasn't so much that they lost the headquarters, they just kind of lost what was sitting on top of it.
Yeah.
Because they still had the drive pit until the very end when the Roid Mute attacked it. But that was endgame anyways.
Which, having the base raided during the final battle is, you know, good way to build tension.
And a good way to lead a Power Rangers in space.
Or Deca Ranger.
Yeah, it was great. That was one of the better versions of it was Deca Rangers.
Alright, Zero said he would be right back a few minutes ago, but we're pretty much at the end of the episode here. Someone stole a progress key from Zaya. You was looking for it. And they have a belt. So something is
And more
happening.
specifically, they have a Zetsuma Rise belt. Specifically.
And while we don't get a very good look at the key, I'm thinking it might be the monster from the next episode preview. So, final thoughts on the episode, Pixie?
Um, to me, this episode was okay. It seemed to be over before it really started, though. I was kind of disappointed with how it ended. It seemed to be like a short episode, just kind of story furthering along. I'm more interested to see what happens in the next episode, given the previews we got.
Like for me, it's like this was a great episode. It's like, and as much as I hate fucking Guy, and the Thousand Island driver who jacks off the riders, he's a very well done antagonist. Like everything about that character screams bad guy, which for a series whose villains can be given a pass up to this point, depending on level of knowledge and whatnot, because Jin gets a pass because he didn't know any better. Hirobi possibly didn't know any better beyond programming. This guy 100% is a dick. And I like when the villains are very, very clear you are a piece of shit. It makes rooting for their downfall fantastic. It makes when they kick the writer's ass legitimate, and just it makes you feel like crap because you're like, well, fuck. Especially in these types of shows, like because where, I mean, this is a standard trope through like pretty much everything. Because this is the standard growth power up arc for the main character, where you've been on this journey with him. He's been kicking ass. And shit. All of a sudden, he's no longer kicking ass. And it's him pushing and striving is like, but it makes you root for the hero more because you want to see this guy's downfall. And this is a very standard thing. It's like, but it's very, very well done here.
It's like, the guy you love to hate.
Right, very much.
Yeah, like it takes a lot for me to just hate a villain immediately on introduction, but this guy just pulls it off with how irredeemable he is in everything he does.
Like, because as much as I don't want to keep drawing correlations between X8, but same writer, so it's the easiest target, and plus it's the one I recently just finished watching again. The main villains in X8, and I'm saying I'm counting the 3 CEOs, even though Lovelica was not really so much the bad guy where Parado was. Like, yeah, they're pieces of shit, but you could understand what they were doing. Like, if there was I'm not saying they were redeemable, because let's face it, Dan Masamune, 100% not redeemable. He's a piece of shit. But from a CEO standpoint, oh, you can absolutely understand it. Like, his whole thing was, I'm going to continue to build my company. This is the easiest way to do so. Whereas with...
This is why we should be scared of Vashi at the moment.
Well, no, it's just like, I look at things from a logical standpoint. It's like, if you have a product, like in this particular case, Kamen Rider Chronicle, which the way they marketed it throughout that show was fucking brilliant. Evil, but brilliant. It garnered intrigue, and it garnered a user base, which is, for that, is exactly what you want. That's how you get money as a company. And while yes, we have that with Guy of here's the company side of it, but there's that one, and beyond that little itty bit of I'm buying your company, it's everything else about him is fuck you and your shit, I'm gonna fuck shit up. Like well, yes, everything is planned for him to gain and control of Hiden, and it's a somewhat very intelligent plan to do so. He's just a giant asshole about it. Like, I get his motivations in that, and on literally the company versus company aspect of it, but his methods for doing so, beyond let's ruin Hiden's image, is just asinine. Because if you're going to do something like this, especially within the realm of this show, you don't want to be caught fucking around with terrorists. And he basically just walks up and goes, by the way, I'm working with the terrorists.
He is doing everything in his power to make it obvious that he has been colluding with the terrorist. Welcome back, Zero.
Hello. Yeah, what were you talking about?
We're going over our final thoughts, and Vashi was talking about Guy's game plan.
Okay, yeah, I'll let him finish too.
Like that's like, and that's the problem with it, is like, from a CEO standpoint, that's the dumbest fucking thing you can do. The only option that he has as a CEO, once it comes out he's using the same things the bad guys were using, is to go, oh well, we found him and repurposed him.
Well, they were working with Ames.
Yeah, to be fair, Yu was collecting the Zetsumurai's keys that she was able to get.
Right, like I said, like, they have the out of, we have the way to explain this off once becomes a question. But it to me, it's dumb that you would even put yourself in a position to where you'd have to explain that.
Kind of.
Especially when you're the public face of a fucking company that's trying to take over another one for being a giant piece of shit.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know, it's that whole, it's a whole aspect of like half of what he uses to transform is literally what was causing the human gears to go batshit nutballs.
Well, here's the thing, like, most of the public don't know or give a shit about that because they're like, oh right, rampaging robot. Right? Like, they don't connect the keys or what's causing it, especially because the keys are gone now and they're still rampaging. So they're not going to give a shit.
Right.
I know from our point of view that it's stupid because we know the keys are important, but from most people's point of view, they're like, who cares? Like, the robots go insane anyway.
But here's the problem I have with that is Ames doesn't work for Zaya.
Correct.
Ames is an entirely separate company. Fu would just you would just happen to be a part of it.
Zaya supplied Ames's technology. That's why Yua was there. She was the mediator.
Right. I mean, like, they make Ames's drivers though, and they were the technical advisors. So, like, technically, if they're like, well, how come you had these things? It's like, we made the drivers. We just repurposed them.
Right. That's why I says, like, you have the whole repurpose argument. Which,
yeah, I know it
that's
is
the standard
stupid.
by the book one. But on the aspect of, well, the public doesn't know, it's like, it's not very hard for Ames to go, hey, wait a fucking minute.
Right.
Because, you know, they don't have to answer to Zaya.
Well, yeah, but then again, like, you don't know how much of Ames is bought off by Zaya. Right? Like, you don't know how much influence they have. So they could just buy themselves, like, immunity from that shit. Yeah, it is stupid. Like, I wish if they were gonna reuse the damn keys, they would at least, like, just change the packaging. And there you go, Bandai. There's your idea to resell the same toy again. Which is just say, like, oh, this is the you know, like, the Zaya version of the keys, and, like, most people wouldn't know. But we would know that, like, Ames just took the keys and repurposed them. Which, you know, would be a perfectly logical explanation. Yeah, it is stupid that, like, oh, you're working with, like, hey, look, this is Hidan tech, and hey, look, this is the bad guy tech, and I can use both. I'm like, why didn't you make your own? Right?
He did. He made one belt that uses both.
Right. I know, but, like, he also makes the Ames belts. So the thing is, like, I mean, the Ames Riders are his tech. right? So like there's no reason. Well, I guess the Ames writers also used Hidan I mean, what are they called? Progress keys, right? So
Yes.
I guess, yeah. Yeah, it's still stupid. Continue Vashif. Yeah,
But
no.
like ultimately, is like with everything is like there hasn't been a or a character introduction for a writer where I'm just like, fuck you, from the get go. Because usually, even with villains, like they usually kind of make them somewhat relatable. That's what makes a great villain, is if you can identify with them. Because then it makes it a little more creepy. Because if you can understand the mentality and what their plan is and why they're doing it, it it makes the moral dilemma a little bit hazier when it comes to what constitutes what is a bad guy. So
Okay.
it makes villains a lot more multi-dimensional. Whereas literally from the gate on this, it's no, fuck you, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, he just wants to prove to like Arto's grandfather that his philosophy is better than the other philosophy. So everything he's doing is not for the company; it's just for his own self gratification. Where it's like, no, I have to prove that my way of looking at the world is better. Um, but that kind of runs into it's like, well, great. Which version of Guy is worse, this one or the one from Ryuki? Right?
The sad thing is, because you just the way you put that, guy's plan is basically to look at Aruto's grandfather and go, anything you can do, I can do better.
Well, technically, he was his mentor, but like they had a disagreement on like what how like they should like help
Where the
advance
focus should
humanity.
be on, yeah, where the focus should be.
Right, exactly. Um, and technically, that is a really good point because it's like AI or transhumanism, right? Like they're related, but they're two different tracks. And it's like, yeah, they're pretty comparable, but they're like competing tracks, right? And realistically, like in any realistic scenario, you would have both. Like again, even in this universe, both of them exist. So it's like Zaya's clearly going down like the transhuman route or like transhuman light, and like Hiden's clearly just going more and more AI. And so yeah, it does kind of prove the point of like, well, you can make the robots as good as you want, but it's like they still have to reach the human level and then go beyond. Whereas if you start with the human, you just have to enhance the human, right? So it's like it's a faster process doing transhuman. It's just a little wonkier. And especially considering all the shit that he's doing, and it's clearly fucking shocker. It's gonna go badly. Um, which is sad because like here's the thing, right? Like this is kind of an interesting track because think of it like this: like Fua was hospitalized, right? Okay, robot AI surgeon saved his life. Cool. What if he wasn't like fully recovered, right? Like what if he couldn't transform then, right? Like he didn't die, but like he couldn't fight anymore. And then like Zaya comes in and it's like, okay, here, you can fight now. We'll just patch you up. You're a cyborg. Like then it would be an interesting track where it's like, well, which right? Like it's great, Hidan, that you made the AI that saved my life, but it's like, what am I supposed to do now, right? Whereas Zaya is like, we can rebuild you. That would have been an interesting path. I mean, the show's not doing that. Go ahead, Ryan.
I was gonna say I'd like to wrap this up soon.
Yeah. Anybody else? Final thoughts before I guess I start doing mine.
Great show, great introduction to a character that makes you venomously hate him to start with. So fantastic.
I'm still just kind of meh on the show, and I really hate the new writer. Oh my god, I hate him so much.
I feel like personally, I feel like the show's getting better. Uh, yeah, like Zaya has really interesting plot hooks going for it. It's not quite there yet, but it's a good start, I guess. They're rushing really hard, trying to make him like the villain, but like honestly, I don't want this guy to be like, oh no, he's just a villain, and then he's gonna become a good guy. Like that'd be really stupid.
Dan Cardo.
Uh,
Yeah,
I do agree that the show's been getting better. And I like what they're doing with the terrorist stuff because I was worried about them trying to drag that through the whole show, but no, like they played out that section of it, resolved it, and while the issue is not fixed, uh, that section of it is done. We're gonna move on to Zaya, but the terrorist stuff is still in play.
which
yeah,
Yeah,
actually is
that was really well done.
and that's a very good parallel to the real world on that one too. Is like because terrorism never really goes away. It's just we took care of the immediate threat. It's still out there and can come back at any time. And the way they touched on that with this episode was fantastic.
All right. Thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. We'll be back next week for more Real Soldier and more Kamen Rider Zero-One. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.
yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you all for listening, and we will be back next week. Thank you very much.